Sangiovese, there was no good reason for my father and I making it in Robert Pepi, other than we wanted to play around with a small amount of a variety from the area of Italy where both sides of my family are from, and that's Lucca. My dad's family was from dirt peasants up in the hillside. My mother's family had a little general store outside of Lucca. But Sangiovese is a variety, obviously, the Chiantis from Tuscany. And so we brought over some cuttings of actually Brunello clones of Sangiovese. And we started growing it on a little rocky hill on the backside of the winery, and we called it Collini di Sassi, or Little Hill of Stones. And so that was our first effort. We actually were in the front page of the New York Times Sunday section with Dad and I on the cover as being releasing this first Sangiovese. So pretty proud of that. And it's going to be fun, though, continue to make. I've made Sangiovese, excuse me, for a couple wineries since then. Sangiovese for the Pistones, Sangiovese for Andretti, and now I'll be making the Sangiovese for Atlas Peak. I have the moniker of the Queen of Sauvignon Blanc. You can't be a king of a delicate white. The proximity to San Francisco, it all works. So this started out when 80% of our production at Robert Pepi Winery was Sauvignon Blanc. we tended to blend it with Semillon. Still enough Sauvignon Blanc to call it Sauvignon Blanc, 75% or more. I haven't done that since, but what I've tried to do is do a similar thing. The Sauvignon Blancs I really like are the variety itself. It's probably got a wider range of varietal character than almost any other variety. It goes all the way from that herbal, grassy, some people even like it to cap piss character on one end, to tropical fruit, citrus, papaya, guava on the other end. And I like to capture as many different characters as I can. Even if I'm only working with one vineyard, I might pick it at 2 different times, so I'll get a little bit of that herbal character at the on the front end, but I'll still get that riper fruit. I might pick it at different times. I might even, after that first pick, strip a little leaves to get a little more sunlight on it before I pick it again, just to give me more complexity. Or if I'm working with different vineyards, you're going to pick vineyards that give you different traits of the variety. But I want something that just has, in Sauvignon Blanc, a complexity of fruit aromas. There's not one thing that jumps out of the glass and slaps you in the face. I think New Zealand makes some terrific Sauvignon Blancs, but for my taste, they tend to be a little bit one-dimensional. Or what I'm looking for is just a plethora of fruit character. So what I'm getting in this, I get a little hint of that herbal character in the nose, but I'm also getting a nice tropical fruit character. I get a little citrus on the palate, and there's just a lot going on. And it makes and to me, it's a sacrilege putting Sauvignon Blanc in having any oak. It just should be stainless steel fermented, a nice crispness to it. I don't want to hide. Even people say that, well, we put it in neutral oak. Neutral oak mutes the fruit even as much as a new oak barrel. So to me, stainless steel fermented. I have done some fermentations in 75-gallon stainless steel drums to give it a little Surlees character, so you get a little bit more richness on the palate. But typically it's just stainless steel, a nice crispness on the palate, and certainly no residual sugar to speak of. We just poured our first bottling of the Atlas Peak Appellation Cabernet Sauvignon. This comes from a couple different vineyards up on the top of Atlas Peak, which starts at almost 2,000 feet elevation on the east side of the Napa Valley, pretty much east, maybe a little northeast of the city of Napa itself. To me, this Cabernet speaks of hillside cab, like we get from Howell Mountain, like we get from Pritchard Hill, which is very close to Atlas Peak. Maybe not quite as big as Howell Mountain, but certainly no wimp. It's one of the bigger Cabernets from areas of growing Cabernet. You get the bigger structure coming out of Atlas Peak, and I think you see that in this wine. But as broad as shoulders as this wine has, you still really get a nice fruity bouquet, and especially on the palate. There's a sweetness, not from sugar, but just from the fruit being picked, at the right sugar, the right balance. I haven't mentioned this so far, but I think to me, the most important decision a winemaker can make is when to pick. So for a couple months up to the harvest, through harvest, I spend a good 4 or 5 hours every morning walking through the vineyards. I'm the one that makes the picking calls on every grape for 95% of the vineyards I do for my clients. And I think you need to be tasting. You can I take a sample, take it back to the lab. I check the sugars, I check the acid. But the bottom line is, what does the fruit taste like? What do the skins taste like when I chew on them? Are the seeds crunchy? I mean, you can't do that in a lab. So I like to think we hit it pretty close. And with the 2018 vintage up at Atlas Peak with this one, again, it shows off some great fruit. I think it's balanced. Any young wine's going to have a little bit of an edge on the finish, but not so much that you can't enjoy it with food right now. Petite Sirah, to me, is a lot of fun to make. I think it's, it's sometimes likened to Syrah, even though they're not the same variety or even total parentage on them. But to me, Petite Sirah does a better job in most areas of California where we're growing red Rhone varieties, which is where both of these are from. And I think Petite Sirah just does a better job than Syrah in most places. And we're just getting beautiful, beautiful fruit if it's picked at the right time and it's made in such a way that it's not overpowered by what can be overpowering tannins in some Petite Sirah. I believe in Petite Sirah, we're getting all of the color and the extraction we need with fruit and color and halfway, 2/3 of the way through fermentation. So I press my Petite Sirahs earlier than most. We've got everything we need. We've got the structure, we've got the flavor, we've got the color. And by doing that, we don't get some of the harsher tannins you get when there's alcohol present toward the end of fermentation. So we finish off the last quarter to third of the fermentation without the skins. Without the juice getting any more tannins from the skins. And I think that when you taste this Petite Sirah, there is no question it's got some weight on the palate. It's got some amazing structure. But the tannins are soft enough where you're getting some nice bright fruit. And with a nice meal, you're going to enjoy this wine very much. It's a beautiful, when you're talking about big wines, Cabernets, Petite Sirahs, Malbec, to some degree, although the tannins tend to be silky on that, this is one of my favorites. I mean, I'll sit down and have a nice Petite Sirah as often as I'll have Cabernet Sauvignon. So hopefully you enjoy it.